Hello, and welcome to Drag Race Rejudged, where today I will be talking about Drag Race's greatest swan song performances. The Wikipedia definition of a swan song is referring to the final work of a creative artist, or more generally to any final performance or accomplishment. For the purposes of this video, this will mean queens who had an amazing challenge performance right before they went home. One thing of note before I start, I will not be considering all-star seasons for this list since they follow different rules and frontrunners are more likely to be the ones getting the chop as opposed to regular competitors at the end of their arcs. If anyone is curious, the qualifying all-stars would have been Alyssa's performance as Annie Oakley in the Rusical, Tatiana's talent show, Lala Ree in the improv challenge, and Alexis Michelle in the design challenge. Starting us off, we have Jessica Wilde on Season 2, a queen who had one of the most infuriating runs to look back on I have ever seen. Jessica spent the first 5 episodes of a 9-episode season giving 2nd and 3rd place performances, then in episode 6, every star aligns. It's a singing challenge, Jujubee, who was the other big threat, completely bombs, and Jessica is finally able to get her win. Track record-wise, it was the first time anyone had been able to catch up to the winner since the premiere. Then episode 7 was the advertising challenge. Jessica gave us the only iconic or memorable moment from the entire challenge, and then gets controversially thrown in the bottom and eliminated over Pandora. If I'm being honest, I think this was deliberate. I don't think production actively had it out for Jessica, but she was one of the biggest threats to their planned winner alongside Raven, who had already been in the bottom twice. Since Jessica had a swan song and finally has a win under her belt, they can now get rid of her in a generally satisfying way while paving the way for their planned winner to take home the crown. Next up, we have Stacy Lane Matthews winning the Snatch Game on Season 3. Similarly to Jessica, I do think this was somewhat staged, but to a lesser extent. In the actual challenge, Stacy, Raja, and Alexis were all pretty much even, with Alexis and Stacy maybe being the top 2. I think the tiebreaker for this challenge was prior performances. Raja already had a win and was their pick to take it home, Alexis had 2 wins in 4 episodes, and Stacy had some highs and a bottom. They knew Stacy was going to be the likeliest to go home soon, especially with an easily riggable design challenge right around the corner. To be clear, Stacy did do a great job in the challenge and deserved her win, but I think the actual reason production gave her the win over one of their favorites was that they were meddling. Then her ending up in the bottom 2 for the design challenge is just the icing on the cake that was their plan. Then for Season 4, while Willam does technically meet the qualifications, I think her being disqualified is gonna disqualify her from the list. Since Willam was eliminated within roughly 10 minutes of her challenge win, it just doesn't work the same as Stacy or Jessica getting a full episode to bask in their success. Since there is no one who qualifies from Season 5, I will take this time to throw out something interesting that I found while researching this video. Season 5 has probably the most reverse swan songs I have ever seen. Almost every eliminated queen on the cast was sent home the week after they were in the bottom. It happened 5 times that season out of a possible 8. Our next actual entry is Laganja winning the advertising challenge on Season 6 alongside Adore. Bianca and Trinity were robbed here, but that actually builds into my theory that production planned this to be Laganja's swan song. Going into the first top 8 challenge, Laganja's track record had been safe, bottom safe. Production had already decided on a final 5 of Adore, Courtney, Bianca, Darian, and Dayla, leaving the other 2 alternates as Trinity K. Bonet and Jocelyn Fox, both of whom had 2 highs. My theory for what happened here was that production viewed Laganja as the most expendable and Adore as needing the win more than Bianca. They decided to give the win to Adore for storyline reasons and made it a double win because Laganja was reaching her limit and next on the chopping block, so they were completely fine throwing a win her way to balance things out. Next is Season 7, where Katya won the dancing challenge with Violet Chachki. This one really hurt since it didn't seem like a swan song. With queens like Stacy and Laganja, I think we all knew they probably weren't making it to the end or taking home the crown, but Katya had a legitimate chance. She bombed the Rusical and was weak in Shakespeare, then went on to what was functionally a 7-week high streak. Technically, she was high safe for the Despy Awards, but of the queens getting critiqued on stage, she was near the top. Going into the ball, everyone still in the competition had either been in the bottom 3 twice, or at least deserved to be there twice, while Katya's last bad showing was 8 episodes prior. I completely get why Katya went home when she did, and why I probably could have seen it coming if I were a more experienced fan. But in retrospect, her doing so well in a performing challenge, redeeming herself from Glamazonian Airways, getting a second win, and finally having an episode at the front of the pack was a really strong way for her run to end, even if it did have to end. Moving on, we have Derrick Barry winning the commercial challenge alongside Bob, and I think this is about as swan-songy as you can get. Stacy also struggled in the earlier parts of the season, but it wasn't a storyline the way it was with Derrick. Derrick getting the win was the culmination of a season-long arc. In the first 2 episodes, Derrick was a strong competitor who is positively shown trying to get out of the Britney box. Then in episodes 3 and 4, Derrick was underperforming and getting completely dragged for failing to get out of the aforementioned Britney box. In episode 5, Derrick goes fully back into the Britney box and gets praised for it. Then in episode 6, she finally gets out of the box, only to completely bomb. Episode 7 was make or break for Derrick, and her and Bob mopped the floor with everyone else. She finally got out of the Britney box in a way that wasn't a complete disaster. She did it alongside her greatest enemy, and she finally proved she could perform well without using Britney as a crutch. I think we knew she was going to be sent home, probably by Bob, in the next episode as soon as she won, but this is the quintessential swan song. The closest thing season 9 has to a swan song is Alexis winning Snatch Game 5 weeks before going home, so next up is going to be the combination of Cracker's makeover on season 10 and Nina West's improv on season 11, since they both followed eerily similar trajectories. Ms. Cracker was portrayed as really strong for the first 5 episodes of the season. She then went on to place low, safe, and then low in the middle portion. This was especially bad for her since this stretch included an improv challenge, an acting challenge, and then Snatch Game. Then Nina West bombed the design challenge in episode 1, but was then portrayed pretty positively for episodes 2, 4, 5, and 6. Starting in episode 7, she placed low twice in a row, lost out on the Snatch Game win, and was middle of the road for the improv challenge, which was previously one of her strong suits. I think we knew that neither one of them was winning their seasons long before their respective episode 10s, but as someone who likes both of them, it was fun to watch them both absolutely excel in a challenge before inevitably being sent home. The next entry technically doesn't count as a swan song, but I'm gonna include her anyway. On season 13, Utica won the makeover on episode 10, then won the lip sync in episode 11 before being sent home in episode 12. It technically doesn't count as a swan song, but given her arc on the show, it fits in spirit. Utica was doomed from the start. She was pegged as a loser before the season even started, and outside of a really strong showing in the ball, she spent most of the season floating around safe and low before becoming the shock lip sync assassin of the season in episode 9. In episode 10, the complete lack of a storyline she was given paired her up with Simone in the makeover, where they cleaned house and both got a win. Unfortunately, finally getting appreciated for her fashion was the end of Utica's arc. Going into the final 7, her and Tina were the clear odd 2 out and went home in 7th and 6th place. That said, Utica getting win for her swan song performance is something production really hasn't done in post-COVID seasons, so massive credit to her. While I'm putting in questionable entries, I will also add Lucy's Rusical to the list, even if she technically was in the bottom for it. Throughout season 15, her entire arc was based on feeling disrespected by the other queens, so her having a full episode to fight for the role she wanted and then have an amazing performance in the challenge was a really positive end to her run, even if the last 15 minutes of the episode were a complete disaster for her. Briefly touching on season 16, we have Geneva Carr winning the girl group challenge and then going home on the design challenge. While this technically meets every single qualification of a swan song performance, I just don't really consider it one. From what we have found out post-show, production didn't really want to give Geneva, or really anyone but Nymphia, the win there, but felt like they had to, so while this technically does count as a swan song performance, as much as I like Geneva, I just don't see this win in the same caliber as someone like Nina, Cracker, or the next entry. Finishing us off, we have Lydia Collins winning the roast on season 17. It was an open secret at this point that Lydia was coming back for All Stars 10. I was barely paying attention to the season as it was airing, and I still knew Lydia was coming back. She was a huge fan favorite after the Boogie Wonderland lip sync, but I think winning the roast really helped her in the roughly 2 months between her elimination and return. I wouldn't say Lydia was having a particularly bad run on season 17, but in the first 8 episodes, she only had one performance that could arguably be high. The big things involving her run in Invite to Return were 2 lip syncs and her storyline with Corey, and while that's not a bad thing, this performance is what put her on the map as a competitor. Nobody would have had an issue if she made it right back to All-Stars based on lip syncs and storylines, but I think getting a challenge win right before going out put her on the map as an actual threat rather than just a stunt cast. Add in the fact that she went home in a not necessarily rigged but definitely sympathetic way, and this win was a huge boost for her going into All-Stars 10.
Do you want non-Emmy nominated gay shit? Well then you should check out the RuPaul's Drag Race Rejudged YouTube channel and hit subscribe.